Hello racing fans, Numbers Guy here. It's that time of year again and the Breeders' Cup is close upon us. So I'm creating this series of pattern handicapping videos based upon last year's Breeders' Cup to give everyone a leg up on identifying patterns and using the numbers more effectively for this year's Breeders' Cup. So here we go with the first Breeders' Cup race from last year, the 6 furlong 2-year-old juvenile sprint. As you look at our format, we're showing you the numbers in the same kind of format that we distribute. But we've got a couple of additions for this particular video series. The first one is that we actually show you the numbers that the horses earned in their Breeders' Cup race. And the second part is that we show you in how they finished order. So in other words, Secret Circle won the race and ran a 7.9. Shoe Moose ran second, ran a 9.3. Holden Bullets ran third, ran a 12.2, and so on. So what we're going to do is take a look here and see how they stacked up and what they look like coming into the race. And Secret Circle won this race, ran a 7.9. He was also the 2-5 gigantic favorite and won fairly easily, although Shoe Moose did make it a little bit exciting at the end. So let's take a look at how Secret Circle came into this race. Okay, in his first race back in July, he broke his maiden at Del Mar at 5.5 furlongs and demolished the field. Ran a very, very powerful 7.2, which is very strong, certainly for a 2-year-old. He then was given a little bit of time off, came back in October, and in a small stakes at Santa Anita, again demolished the field and improved on that 7.2 and ran a 6.8. In fact, this number is even stronger than it looks here as the 6.8 because he ran what I call a big win kind of race. And in this race, he sat about third, and then around the turn and turn up for home, he just powered by the rest of the field and won easily again by 5 lengths. And to add to that, he's trained by Bob Baffert, who is phenomenal with young horses, and ridden by Beyer and Ragozin, who's about as good as they get on the West Coast. And also, in addition to that, he had a very, very fast workout right before the race. So his little string of numbers is real. I wouldn't really call it a pattern, but he improved from the 7.2 to the 6.8. That's very strong. These small improvements tend to look forward to future improvements. Well, in fact, he actually did not improve. He actually regressed in the race, but his numbers coming in were so strong that his 7.9, he still won fairly easily. He looked like a 2-5 shot coming into the race and pretty much won like a 2-5 shot. The horse that ran second, Shoe Moose, shows no races coming in here, but he actually had run 6 races in Europe and had done fairly well and won a grade 3 on the poly over there. So that he was able to run second and running a 9.3 was certainly not any real surprise. Holden Bullets came in third. He was a bit of a shot at 12 or 15 to 1 coming into the race, 17 to 1. And he actually previously had run in April, very early in the year, for a 2-year-old. He'd run a 12.0, had a bunch of time off, and during that time off, horses tend to get stronger and just fill in more, especially with 2-year-olds. So that he came back, his 12 was at 4.5 furlongs, that he was able to essentially duplicate that at 6 furlongs is not really a surprise. You expect a horse to simply physically get bigger and stronger and able to run faster during this time. Let's see, who else do we have here? The second favorite, even though he was 9 to 1, was Seeker, and it looked to me like he pretty much did not deserve to be the second favorite. You can see that some of these horses had run some decent numbers. Seeker had run a 14.4, improved to 11, and then regressed to a 12.8. Number one, I really do not like these regressions, especially early on in a horse's career. That he continued to regress again to 13.5 is certainly no surprise. I didn't expect much more from him. Jake Moe actually earlier in the year had run a 7.6, then had a bunch of time off, came back and ran a 10.4, and again, I don't like these backward movements. And then he further regressed to a 15.6. So it was not real surprising that he didn't run well either. Triniberg ended up running in the Kentucky Derby in this year, and his numbers just were not that strong coming into this race. He'd run a 9.7 back in July, bounced, come back a little bit with 11.8. In fact, that race right there, I've really liked him in October, simply because this is the circle back pattern in action. That means he ran a best back here in July, bounced, and then headed back forward in the proper direction in September. So that would indicate that his October race was going to be very strong. His Breeders' Cup pattern is a little bit iffy. You know, you could expect maybe that he'd improve off this 9.4, but he certainly did not and backed up off that. The other horse that had a very strong number coming in was Vexor. He had an 8.8, but as you can see, he'd come down from a 13.3 all the way to an 8.8. That's a lot of improvement. Sometimes these younger horses can keep on going, but certainly just as often they bounce off these big efforts like that, and Vexor certainly did. Anyway, that's it for this race, and because of our time limits, I've created a series of videos to cover all of the races. So be sure and check out the next one in the series, Part 2.